Rational nutrition. Nutrition determines the duration and quality of human life. Errors in the structure of nutrition are one of the causes of many serious diseases, including cardiovascular diseases and cancer. Rational nutrition is the physiologically adequate nutrition of healthy people, taking into account their gender, age, nature of work, peculiarities of climate, and other factors. Rational nutrition should ensure the constancy of the internal environment, homeostasis, and maintain vital activity, growth, development, functions of organs and systems at a high level. Principles of rational nutrition. The compliance of daily energy expenditure with energy intake. The factors influence on the value of energy needs. Age and the associated value of basal metabolism gender. Men consume energy by 10 to 15% more than women. The constitution of the body, body height and chest circumference. The nature of employment, coefficient of physical activity. Quality of life related to the development of the social infrastructure of residence. Effect of climatic conditions in the residence region. Physiological condition of the body, pregnancy and lactating. Second principle of rational nutrition. The physiological needs of the body should be provided with food substances in quantities and proportions that have the maximum beneficial effect. Balanced nutrition. Balanced nutrition means energy intake, calories should be in balance with energy expenditure. Balance between macro elements, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Balance between animal and plant proteins, between animal and plant fats, between different kinds of fatty acids. Balance between some microelements, calcium and phosphorus, calcium and magnesium. The third principle of rational nutrition. The chemical structure of the food must maximum corresponds to the enzymatic digestive systems of the body. Principle number 4. Dietary regime should be maintained. The consumption calorie should be distributed properly through Principle number 5. Food should be impeccable in sanitary and epidemiological terms. Products must not contain physical, chemical, and biological contaminants. There should be no signs of food spoilage, oxidation, fermentation, mold formation, rancidifcation. So, nutrients. What is it? Nutrient. A nutrient is a chemical substance found in foods that is used in the human body. There are 6 classes of nutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, and water. You should understand that some nutrients are essential. Essential nutrients cannot be synthesized by the body, therefore they have to be included in the diet. They come into our body only with food. Classification of essential nutrients. Based on the amount of the nutrients that each person needs to consume on a daily basis, these nutrients are categorized into 2 groups: macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients should be consumed in fairly large amounts, and micronutrients are only required in small amounts. Macronutrients are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Micronutrients are minerals and vitamins. The first group of macronutrients are proteins. Proteins are large biomolecules and macromolecules that comprise of amino acids. Amino acids make up about 20% of our bodies, or about 50% of our solid body mass. They are the next largest component in our bodies after water. As you remember, we consist of 60% of water. The body of a person who weighing 50 kilograms has about 10 kilograms of amino acids in their body makeup. Proteins are the main component of all organs and tissues of the body. All the life processes are closely connected with them. Metabolism, contractility, irritability, ability to grow, reproduce, and even ability to think. The main purpose of food proteins is to participate in the construction of new cells and tissues, ensure the growth and development of young organisms, and regenerate of old absolute cells in adulthood. Food proteins constantly synthesize body proteins, enzymes, hormones, and antibodies. Proteins are involved in the transport of blood oxygen, lipids, carbohydrates, certain vitamins, hormones. The human body does not have protein reserves. Protein comes from food and is an indispensable component of the diet. There are different types of proteins, and they perform certain functions. For example, the first type of protein is structure. Examples: actin, myosin, collagen, elastin, keratin. Their functions give tissues such as bone, tendons, skin, muscles, strength and structure. Enzymes: lactase, pepsin, lipase digest macronutrients into smaller monomers that can be absorbed, performs steps in metabolic pathways to allow for nutrient utilization. So enzymes are proteins that conduct specific chemical reactions. Hormones such as insulin, thyroxine. Hormones are chemical messengers that travel in blood and coordinate processes around the body. Proteins are responsible for hormone production. As you remember, hormones are chemical messengers produced in one part of the body and then transported in the blood to a different part of the body. When the hormone gets to the target tissue or part of the body, it communicates a message to initiate a specific reaction or cellular process. Also can be fluid and acid base balance, such as albumin hemoglobin, maintains appropriate balance of fluids and pH in different body compartments. transport proteins. Examples also you can see in this table: hemoglobin, albumin, karyoproteins carry substances around the body, in the blood or lymph, help molecules cross cell membranes. And defense, such as collagen, antibodies, protect the body from foreign pathogens. Protection. Antibodies bind to specific foreign particles, such as viruses and bacteria, to help protect the body. On the screen you can see illustration of antibodies. Blue-green structures are antibodies attempting to latch onto the antigens on the outer surface of a coronavirus, for example. It's red. Antibodies are one of the main players in the immune system's attack against viruses. Proteins are divided into animal proteins and plant proteins, two types of proteins. Amino acids are molecules that combine to form proteins. Amino acids and proteins are the building blocks of life. When proteins are digested or broken down, amino acids are left. Amino acids are classified into three groups. First group is essential amino acids. Second group is non-essential amino acids. And third group is conditional amino acids. First group, essential amino acids. What does it mean, essential? Essential amino acids cannot be made by the body. As a result, they must come from food. So there are 9 essential amino acids, 9. And you should remember them. They are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Non-essential amino acids. Non-essential means that our bodies can produce the amino acid even if we don't get it from the food we eat. Non-essential. Non-essential amino acids include alanine, adenine, asparagine, aspartic acid, cysteine, glutamic acid, glutamine, glycine, choline, serine, and tyrosine. And conditional amino acids. Conditional amino acids are usually not essential, except in times of illness and stress. So, conditional amino acids, that they are non-essential, but in some cases, for example, in the case of illness or stress, they become essential. That is why conditional amino acids. Conditional amino acids include arginine, cysteine, glutamine, tyrosine, glycine, ornithine, proline, and aserine. All amino acids should be in balance. What does it mean? Barrel suggested theory. So, understanding the amino acids balance in protein with the barrel theory. The nutritional value of protein depends on the amount and balance of essential amino acids. Balance of essential amino acids in food is often illustrated as a wooden barrel. You can see this on the picture. That is used for filling water. A wooden barrel that is used for filling water. Each board of the barrel represents each type of essential amino acid in food. Essential amino acid. We told what does it mean, essential amino acid, and what are they? Well, these 9 amino acids are boards of the barrel. A food with an ideal balance of amino acids, such as an egg, has a barrel with every board neatly forming a line at the same height. In case of wheat, however, the boards are different in height. If any one of the boards is shorter than the others, you can only fill the barrel as high as the lowest board, and the water beyond that runs out of the barrel. On the left picture, you can see this. Similar, if even one essential amino acid is absent, the remaining amino acids cannot be used effectively. So, what would happen if amino acid lysine, which is insufficient, is added externally in the barrel for wheat? It has been found that the broad for lysine gets taller, making other types of amino acids to be utilized more effectively. So this is the barrel theory. So we told that there are two types of proteins, animal and plant proteins. Animal proteins are complete proteins. That means they contain all the essential amino acids that you need in your diet. They are complete proteins. And plant proteins are often, but not always, but very often, incomplete sources of protein. Incomplete. What sources of complete proteins? So, complete proteins provide all 9 essential amino acids. Sources of complete protein include dairy products, beef, pork, eggs, and some other sources. Sources of plant protein. As you remember, most plant sources of protein are incomplete. However, you can get all the essential amino acids you need from plant foods as long as you eat a variety of them. Sources of plant protein are nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes such as beans, peas, lentils, and vegetables. You don't need to eat essential and non-essential amino acids at every meal. But getting a balance of them over the whole day is important. A diet based on a single plant item will not be adequate. But we no longer worry about pairing proteins, such as beans with rice, at a single meal. Instead, we look at the adequacy of the diet overall throughout the day. Not every meal, but throughout the day. Should be in balance. A criterion for the biological value of proteins is their amino acid score. Amino acid score expresses the percentage of the amount of an essential amino acid in a product protein to the amount of the same amino acid in a standard protein with an ideal amino acid scale. You can see the formula of amino acid score. So the formula is amino acid score equals amino acid milligrams in 1 gram of product protein divided to amino acid milligram in 1 gram of ideal protein and multiply 100%. We can compare amino acid in our product, in any product we want, with amino acid in ideal protein. The amino acid score that limits biological value is of the least importance. According to this indicator, the biological value of food proteins of animal origin is very high, and plant proteins are limited by a number of essential amino acids, especially threonine, isoleucine, and lysine. So what is it? What does it mean, ideal protein? Ideal is considered a protein 1 gram of which contains 40 milligrams of isoleucine, 70 milligrams of lysine, 55 milligrams of lysine, 35 milligrams of sulfur-containing compounds, 60 milligrams of aromatic compounds, 10 milligrams of tryptophan, 40 milligrams of threonine, and 50 milligrams of valine. It is ideal product. So we compare any product with this ideal protein. To satisfy the need for amino acids, it is advisable to use combinations of food products on the principle of complementing the limiting amino acids, for example, cereals and dairy products. The daily protein requirement is different for men and women. So, the daily protein requirement for women is 58 to 87 grams. For men, it is 65 to 117 grams, with 50% of them being animal proteins. And now you know why 50% should be animal, because they contain all essential amino acids. So, what this amount of protein provides 11 to 12% of the body's energy requirements. Next are carbohydrates. Macronutrients is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates can be divided into two main types. They are simple and complex. Many sugars. Simple carbohydrates are made up of just one or two sugar units, whereas complex carbohydrates are made up of many sugar units. For example, what if we see what's simple? First we'll discuss simple. For example, the monosaccharides. You can see one sugar D, saccharide D, saccharide double, 2 molecules of sugar, and polysaccharide, a lot of units of sugar. So monosaccharide 1, the monosaccharide, they are glucose, fructose, and galactose. Glucose, energy source for cells. Fructose, sugar in fruit. And galactose, sugar in milk. Disaccharide double, they consist from, for example, maltose, consists from 2 units of glucose, maltose, malt sugar. Next disaccharide, sucrose, table sugar. As you know that this sugar that you add in your coffee or your tea. This is sucrose, table sugar. It consists of 1 unit glucose plus 1 unit of fructose, 2 units of sugar. And lactose milk sugar consists of glucose and galactose. So disaccharide, double units. And polysaccharides consist from long chains. They can be different. The amount can be different. The functions of carbohydrates in the body. The primary role of carbohydrates is to supply energy to all cells in the body. Energy is the main function. Many cells prefer glucose as a source of energy versus other compounds like fatty acids. Some cells, such as red blood cells, are only able to produce cellular energy from glucose. The brain is also highly sensitive to low blood glucose levels because it uses only glucose to produce energy and function, unless under extreme starvation conditions. So when you are studying, when you have exams, you are in stress and you need more high levels of glucose. So the main function is energy production. Next important function is energy storage. If the body already has enough energy to support its functions, the excess glucose is stored as glycogen, the majority of which is stored in the muscle and liver. Molecule of glycogen, значит, a molecule of glycogen may contain in excess of 50,000 single glucose units and is highly branched, allowing for the rapid dissemination of glucose when it is needed to make cellular energy. So this interesting structure of glycogen enables its rapid mobilization into free glucose to power cells. Another very important type of carbohydrates is fiber. Fiber is a type of carbohydrate that the body can't digest. Though most carbohydrates are broken down into sugar molecules, fiber cannot be broken down into sugar molecules, and instead it passes through the body undigested. Fiber helps regulate the body's use of sugars, helping to keep hunger and blood sugar in check. Children and adults need at least 20 to 30 grams of fiber per day for good health. Fiber comes in two varieties, both beneficial to health. Fibers can be soluble fiber and insoluble. First group, soluble fiber, which dissolves in water, can help lower glucose levels as well as help lower blood cholesterol. Foods with soluble fiber include oatmeal, nuts, beans, lentils, apples, and blueberries. And insoluble fiber, which does not dissolve in water, can help food move through your digestive system, promoting a regulatory and helping prevent constipation. Foods with insoluble fibers include wheat, whole wheat bread, whole grain, brown rice, carrots, tomatoes. The best sources of fiber are whole grains, fresh fruits and vegetables, legumes and nuts. The best sources. And the third group of macronutrients, fats, is fats. Fats have a high energy value and play an important role in the biosynthesis of lipid structures, primarily cell membranes. Food fats are triglycerides and lipid substances. Fats also are divided into animal fats and plants fats, or vegetable, animal and plant fats. Animal fats are composed of saturated melting fatty acids, and plant fats contain a significant amount of polyunsaturated fatty acids. The percentage of fat varies from person to person. It can be very, very different. If we don't say about obesity, approximately fats, our human body consists of 15 to 16% of fats. But in case of obesity, of course, it is more. It can be even 30% of our body, even 30%. So what are the fats? A fat is a molecule that is composed of glycerol head and 3 fatty acid tails. Each of these tails is a long hydrocarbon chain, a carbon skeleton bound to hydrogen atoms, like tails. Typically, this carbon skeleton consists of 12 to 18 C long carbohydrates, carbon. So fats can be saturated fats and unsaturated fats. And unsaturated fats also are divided into monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. What does it mean? When all the carbons are fully bound to hydrogens, the fatty acid is said to be saturated. all the bonds between carbon atoms are single and the hydrocarbon chain has a straight shape. So a fat molecule made entirely of saturated fatty acids is a saturated fat. Due to their straight tails, saturated fats are compact and solid at room temperature. The example of saturated fat is butter. You know that all of you know this butter. On the other hand, when the hydrocarbon chain has fewer hydrogens, it is said to be unsaturated. Instead of binding to a maximum number of hydrogens, some carbon atoms bind to each other via a double bond. It is in the circle, a double bond. In the picture it is in the circle. The presence of double bonds may bend the hydrocarbon chain, creating gaps between molecules, making them less compact. As a result, unsaturated fats are usually liquid at room temperature. Monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. So, monounsaturated, a fat molecule that contains only one double bond is a monounsaturated fat, while one that has multiple double bonds is polyunsaturated. Dietary fats provide fatty acids for the synthesis of cell membrane, a vital component of all animal cells. The gaps in unsaturated fatty acids provide membrane fluidity, facilitating membrane transport and cellular signaling. While both types of fats are needed for an optimal composition of the cell membrane, too much saturated fat would make the membrane fragile and hinder cellular responsiveness. On the slide you can see optimal unsaturated-saturated ratio and when it is too much saturated fats. Membrane fluidity is most important in the nervous system, where neuronal response requires extremely fast cellular communication. A certain ratio of unsaturated to saturated acids is also required for the formation of myelin, the insulating material that wraps around axons of neurons and speeds up the conduction of electrical signals. the body is capable of synthesizing all the fatty acids it needs, with the exception of polyunsaturated fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6, which must be obtained from the diet. These are known as essential fatty acids. So when I will ask you what are essential fatty acids, you should answer that essential fatty acids are polyunsaturated fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6. So, saturated fats, unsaturated fats, and the type of unsaturated trans fats. In general, unsaturated fats are healthier than saturated fats. Unsaturated fats decrease the risks for heart disease by reducing the amount of bad cholesterol and increasing the good cholesterol, while saturated fats increase both good and bad cholesterol. But not all unsaturated fats are equal. In fact, a type of unsaturated fat known as trans fat is the unhealthiest of all. Trans fat. A double bond can give rise to two possible configurations, cis and trans. Cis is when the two hydrogen atoms are on the same side of the bond. The left picture, on the same side. While trans is when they are on the opposite sides. It is on the right picture, opposite sides. A cis double bond bends the fatty acid molecule, while the somewhat more symmetric trans configuration does not. A trans fat is therefore similar in structure to a saturated fat. More importantly, trans fats rarely occur in nature, so the body does not have the necessary enzymes to break them down. When we eat trans fats, our organism doesn't know what to do. There is no enzymes in our body. Diets rich in trans fats increase the bad cholesterol and reduce the good cholesterol, having the most detrimental effect on blood vessels. On this picture you can see the effect on good and bad cholesterol of unsaturated fats, saturated and trans fats. What you can see, the trans fat, high level of bad cholesterol and low level of good cholesterol. Trans fats are dangerous. You shouldn't forget about these. So in what products there are trans fats? Trans fats are found mainly in partly hydrogenated oil products such as margarine. Margarine is the main product where are trans fats. Because unsaturated fats are less stable and spoil faster, food manufacturers add hydrogens to make them more saturated through a process known as partial hydrogenation. This process not only prolongs shelf life of plants of vegetable oils, but also turns them into solid or semi-solid products, which are preferred by commercial bakers for their cost and wide range of different textures. Unfortunately, partial hydrogenation also converts some of these double bonds into trans configuration, producing trans fats. Cholesterol. It is the most dominant sterol in animal fats and oils, being present in vegetable oils in negligible amounts, in very, very low amounts. So when you see vegetable oil in our shops, you can see that it is written there that free, cholesterol free. And you now know that all vegetable oils are free of cholesterol. The functions of fats in the body. There are 6 functions. First is storing energy, insulting and protecting, regulating and signaling, aiding absorption and increasing bioavailability, contributing to the smell, taste and safety of foods, and providing essential fatty acids. So let's see the first function, the main function of fat, storing energy. The excess energy from the food weight is incorporated into adipose tissue or fatty tissue. We draw on the energy stored in fat to help meet our basic energy needs. Unlike other body cells that can store fat in limited supplies, fat cells are specialized for fat storage and are able to expand almost indefinitely in size. The oxidation of fat releases about 9.5 kilocalories per gram, which is almost double than that of carbohydrates. This is because fats undergo several more steps for getting completely oxidized than carbohydrates. Oxidation of carbohydrates and proteins release about 4.3 to 5.3 kilocalories per gram. Next function is insulating and protecting. There are 2 types of fat stored as adipose tissue. subcutaneous fat, and visceral fat. Visceral, what does it mean? Visceral fat surrounding vital organs and stored deep within the abdominal cavity. And subcutaneous fat stored just underneath the skin. Visceral fat protects vital organs such as the heart, kidneys, and liver. The blanket layer of subcutaneous fat insulates the body from extreme temperatures and helps keep the internal climate under control. Next function, regulating and signaling. Fats help the body to produce and regulate hormones. For example, adipose tissue secretes the hormone leptin, which signals the body's energy status and helps to regulate appetite. Fat is also required for reproductive health. A woman who lacks adequate amounts may stop menstruating and be unable to conceive until her body can store more energy as fat. Omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids help regulate cholesterol and blood clotting and control inflammation in the joints, tissues, and bloodstream. Fat also play important functional roles in sustaining nerve impulse transmission, memory storage, and tissue structure. Lipids are especially focal to brain activity in structure and in function, helping to form nerve cell membranes, insulate neurons, and facilitate the signaling of electrical impulses throughout the brain. Now let's discuss the function of fats in the diet. First function in the diet is aiding absorption and increasing bioavailability. Later, we will tell about vitamins. There are fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins. And the dietary fats in the foods we eat improve bioavailability of fat-soluble vitamins. As you remember, bioavailability is the amount of a substance that is absorbed from the intestines into the bloodstream. Important function also contributing to the smell, taste, and satisfaction of foods. Fats satisfy appetite, the desire to eat, because they add flavor to foods. Fat contains dissolved compounds that contribute to mouth-watering aromas and flavors. Fats satisfy hunger, the need to eat, because they are slower to be digested and absorbed than other macronutrients. Dietary fat thus contributes to satiety, the feeling of being satisfied or full. And the last function of fats, providing essential fatty acids. Most lipid molecules can be synthesized in the body from other organic molecules, so they don't specially need to be provided in the diet. However, there are two that are considered essential and must be included in the diet. You know what are they? They are linoleic acid and alpha-linoleic acid. And sources of fats. So you know that there are monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. Monounsaturated fats are found in high concentration in olive, peanut, canola oils, avocados, nuts such as almonds, seeds. Polyunsaturated fats are found in high concentrations in sunflower, corn, walnuts, flax seeds, fish, canola oil. And for students who did not have classes, you will calculate nutritional status, and I wanted to explain about these three stages. First, you will determine your needs for energy and nutrient substances. But for determination, you will use three formulas. First of all, this task you can see on the bottle. First of all, you will calculate your normal body weight using these formulas. Please, before the class, read attentively this task, because on the classes you will calculate it. You will use these three formulas. All examples are given. Then you will determine of needs for energy according to value of basal metabolism and coefficient of physical activity. The value of basal metabolism, you should not calculate it. It is in the table 1.1. You find your own value of basal metabolism from the table. Coefficient of physical activity. You know that there are 5 groups, professional groups of physical activity. Also, they are very light physical activity, a light physical activity, an average physical activity, a high physical activity, and a very high physical activity. Students are in the first professional group, a very light physical activity, so your coefficient of physical activity equals 1.4. So you find the value of basal metabolism from table 1.1, coefficient of physical activity from table 1.2, and multiply them. So you will know needs for energy. All examples are given for you. And the last one, that you will determine your needs for proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So it is also, you know, from the table 1.3, proteins, fats, carbohydrates ratio. First of all, you check the ratio for energy and then the ratio for mass according to your age and coefficient of physical activity. So you are students, your coefficient physical activity 1.3, and your age is between 18 to 29. So your ratio of energy for proteins, fats, and carbohydrates will be 1 to 2.5 and 5. And calculate this. First of all, you know the part of proteins, and then you find the needs for fats and carbohydrates. According to this table 1.3, you find the ratio of mass and find the needs for fats and carbohydrates. This we will do during the classes. Next lecture is the vitamins. So next you will determine needs for vitamins, minerals and dietary fibers. About dietary fibers we have already told. If you have questions, you can write. So if you